Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with the daily technical update. The past 24 hours has been fairly uneventful. You can see here that the S&P 500, the shoulder pattern is still intact. It needs to close above the peak of this bearish engulfing here to be demolished and cancelled. Trying a little bit yesterday. Next couple of days could be crucial for that. So the pattern is not really confirmed yet. It needs to close below 43.40 support here, which is also the neckline for confirmation for lower levels. Same picture on Nasdaq 100. So not much reason to spend too much time on it. It needs to close above 15,280. In the Asian markets, we saw Hang Seng testing resistance here around 18,562, just below this lower rising trend line here. We could see probably the next couple of days another attempt at it, and if it does close above, we could see a short sweet rally up to around 19,000, where I think we will see some weakness coming back into the market. The overall downtrend is still intact. On the European markets, fairly quiet also here, trying to get back above 15,900. We are still in a downtrend. Let's see where we end today. Will we end back in the falling channel here? I have my doubt that it will move much higher than testing the underside of the cloud here and the 100 and the 55 moving average coming down. So the underlying sentiment is still a negative. AX Amsterdam in this range here between 730 and 750. Don't expect much from these guys. Whereas the Belgian market has bounced quite strongly, testing the pivot line, I would say, pivot point, bull bear point here, around 36.76 level, where we have the 100 moving average coming down. Kind of putting a lid on. We could maybe have a little bit of the test of the crucial resistance at 36.69. 36.96. But I don't believe we will see it move much higher than this before the bears are taking back control. But again, in the broader picture, I think we'll see a range-bound trading on the Belgian market, but in a fairly wide range between 35.50 and below the 37.50 level, so a little bit indecisive to say the least. CAC40, well, today, it's above the falling trend line, but it's not the strongest anyway. So in terms of the cloud, we are back above the cloud, but it's not really convincing, as we have the RSI still struggling a little bit for upside momentum. It needs to close above 60 before I really trust a further upside here, really. On the commodities, let's start with the FX as usual. We have the euro dollar bouncing a little bit, but it's not really convincing. It seems like it can't really get back above 108.33, 35 level here. I would have expected a little bit of a bounce up towards 109, possibly a little bit higher, before downtrend to resume towards the 107, 106.90 level. But it's still struggling quite a bit. The dollar index, a little bit of weakness. It's been very stretched. I mean, very strong uptrend here for the past almost 2 months, 6 weeks or so. We should see a correction down to around 103 before moving higher. There is no divergence on the RSI. It is bullish sentiment, but a correction should be seen, and we can add a little bit of a Fibonacci. Okay, maybe we do have a short-term peak in place, and we could see a correction down to possibly around 103. I'm not quite so sure. Maybe we can really dip down to the 38.2 retracement at 102.41, but the jury's still out on the direction there short-term. But after that, we can see here it's broken above the medium-term falling trend line. It is in a bullish trend. On the Dollar yen. Uptrend intact, but it's weakening. As you can see here, the RSI is just basing flat, and you can see that it's actually declining. So we have a little bit of a divergence here. So it's really weakening, and maybe can't really. Maybe we need a bit of a bigger correction also after hitting the 786 retracement of the on the weekly chart here at 146.60. So there seems to be some really strong resistance. It can't really get above. It needs to move higher also to cancel this divergence on the RSI. So that's really something to watch out for. Keep an eye on that break higher there. On the euro yen, still trading sideways, hovering around 158 without doing much direction. Also quite stretched, I would say. I would like to see. Let me show you guys with this here. I will see a breakout either to the downside at 156.85 or 159.50 for direction. I think we could actually be caught in this very tight range here for the next few days, maybe a week or so. Cable. It actually formed this interesting bullish engulfing candle here yesterday, but it is in a fairly strong downtrend without RSI divergence. So I'm not so convinced that we will move back higher. And if we do get a bounce, it will probably only be to around 127, 127.50. Which is the lower part of the cloud here, and we also have the 55 moving average that will kind of putting a lid on it, or at least add some resistance. So it could be depressed a little bit. We can see here on the weekly chart, it has broken this lower rising trend line. So it's a little bit in this. Indecisive at the moment. What is interesting is that weekly RSI is still in a bullish sentiment, and there's no divergence, indicating we could see higher cable levels. But looking at the broader picture, I'm not so convinced, to be honest. On the commodity side, now we get to it. Gold has bounced off its lows here, forming a little bit of a what we call an evening doji. We have the doji here, and an evening. It's not the perfect one, but still an evening doji in this rebound here that could take gold up short term to around 1935-40 maybe. I'm not quite sure we'll get to 1950 before we see it breaking down again. And what is interesting, the RSI, I believe, will be rejected at the 60 threshold. To totally change the picture into a bullish mode, well, we need to get back above 1950, and we need the RSI to close above 60 on the daily chart. Silver. Moving around it's back above the 24, back above the cloud, but some resistance here around 24 and a half. So a little bit indecisive, but we are in a bullish sentiment and should move higher. We can also see that the 55 slowly turning around maybe, and on the weekly we have the 100, 255 all moving higher, and we are bound to get some gold crosses here on the 55 crossing over both the 200 and 100 here. So I believe we'll see higher silver prices going into the next couple of weeks. On copper. Copper is still a little bit depressed below 382, so not much to talk about there at the moment, but that's the level to look out for. Let's have a look at the platinum. So another precious metal here has had a strong move here lately, together with the gold, and it has turned the sentiment short term on platinum to be bullish. But we need to break above the cloud. We need to be back above the 100 and the 200 moving average up here, just below 1,000 for platinum to really shine and move higher. And as you can see here on the weekly chart, it needs to get above the 55, 100 and 200 that are more or less at the same level here on the weekly chart. So something to keep an eye on here next couple of days. Finally, palladium, when we're talking metals. moving in this sideways range here between 1200 and 1345 ish level. Our commodities expert will do a more in-depth analysis later today on these metals, supported with a few comments from me, so look out for that one. Finally, on the energy front, not really much going on. We still have Brent and WTI in this range here, bouncing off from the Brent bouncing on from the 38.2 retracement, just below $82. And finally, on the Dutch gas, back above the cloud. It is in a bullish sentiment, but the uptrend is struggling a little bit, but I do believe we will see higher gas prices later. Finally, the US 10-year, it formed this doji here, so it's an evening doji star-like pattern that we have here on the US 10-year yields, indicating we could see a correction possibly down to 4%. And if we look at the Treasury future, we have the and this should be a morning doji down here, not an evening. It's a morning, so we should see a move up to 110.12, possibly testing the upper falling trend line here on the US 10-year future. So a little bit of correction expected. We also have divergence in the RSI supporting a correction level. All right, that is all for today, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Thank you very much.